What up, everybody? It's Rockma. So, today, it's gonna be a short video. It's gonna be some advice. How to deal with bad news. Now, I've dealt with quite a bit of bad news recently, and I've learned a couple things that, kind of help out a little bit. The first one is whenever you get bad news, or you get any kind of, strong negative attention or emotion, the best thing I've noticed is to get away or detach yourself in some way, shape, or form from the current situation at hand. I don't mean run away, but I mean physically move. Helps a lot. Think back to like your favorite meal as a child, your favorite snack. You can probably remember how it tastes, maybe who made it for you or where you got it from. You can remember the texture, things like that. Almost any formative memory or bond has the same effect. And when you're still in a location where you're still thinking about, or you're still experiencing things that trigger back this emotion of this thing that just happened, or maybe happened a while back, like actually getting fired, right? Every time you go in that area, you're gonna have to relive that. And if you're not trying to process the information, but simply just give yourself a break and not have to deal with whatever, changing triggers or changing areas that would re-trigger these events can help out substantially. Now, you will have to eventually process these things, but nobody's saying that you have to do that right this second, right? And of course, a lot of times if you're trying to process things immediately after they happen, it's much, much harder than if you were to give yourself a second and allow yourself to kind of get your affairs in order. The second thing that I would recommend is control. A lot of people have issues with control when it comes to bad emotions or events happening to them. I struggled for many years with control and trying to manage and change different aspects of my life to the way I thought they should be. It wasn't until I started doing some psychology courses and really digging into how the mind works to understand that you have zero control over anything else other than you, and you really don't have that much control over yourself, but you do have some control. And that sense of control can alleviate a lot of frustration, especially when you recognize that you can only control yourself. And so you really start focusing on you and how you can improve things for yourself. That can give you back a little bit of control and kind of calm you down and start formulating your plan for the future. A lot of times people can get even greater difficulties in processing negative things or negative events that happen because they try and control things that are beyond themselves, and all that's going to do is frustrate you and lead you to make very odd decisions, right? Because if you try to do something that you're physically unable to do, your brain will do like this kind of mental gymnastics thing where you will start making decisions that you normally wouldn't make in order to try and compensate or find new ways to reach this new thing, right? So a lot of times, work is a good example, right? Somebody at work, may be over somebody else, and they may be trying to get them to do X, Y, or Z. And by trying to force them to do these things, that the person who is responsible for, the manager, boss, or whatever, trying to get their employee to do something, if they try and force it, they make very odd decisions, right? They make people work weekends, or tell them they can't go to the bathroom, right? What? Or you can't have your cell phone on you at work anymore. Things that you have no business really telling somebody else, right? Especially another adult. But you make these weird decisions as trying to control a narrative and predetermine an outcome, rather than managing an asset and then following up on whether the goals got met up or not, and taking the appropriate corporate mandated action, which I'm pretty sure does not say, make this weird overbearing decision of somebody else's life. Just an example of how control can lead you down the wrong path. And especially if you're already mentally or emotionally compromised from this terrible event that's already happened to you, it can have dramatically overbearing thought processes that are damaging not only to the other person or the other thing that you're trying to control that's not you, but your own healing. Now, the last bit of advice that I have is a bit of, well, it's not a bit, it is make-believe, right? It is my experience in life. It seems to, ever since I noticed it, it seems to always happen. It may take 1, 2, 3, whatever, days, months, weeks. But bad news always comes in rounds of 3. For me, I hate that. I hate that it always comes in groups of 3. But it is my belief, and it is my coping technique that they do. And that can be a little, that can incite some dread in you, because you're like, oh crap, I haven't had my 3rd bout of bad news. But on the other side of it, you can start looking for positive things when the 3rd one's gone. Or you can start getting ready for the 3rd one, right? If I have really bad news, right? I'm like, oh crap, I'm about to get 2 more. All right, let's make sure that I'm on work time, I'm getting good sleep, I'm eating good food, I'm going to the gym, making sure the house is, I'm starting to take these negative things that are possibly going to end up in some sort of bad news or annoyance, or potentially start some sort of argument. I'm starting to take these things off the list, right? I'm starting to make sure I double check my laundry. I'm starting to make sure that I read my emails and I'm not missing a deadline. Is it gonna come? I believe it is, right? But being ready and looking for the problem may make you find a problem that's not there. True. But it will allow you to control, because you can control yourself. And if you are trying to anticipate and prepare for bad news in groups of 3, right? You can start trying to take these things off the list and probably prepare yourself and have a much better experience because of it, because you are resolving problems that might have happened otherwise if you weren't paying attention. Now, this last one, I try to make sure to keep it in groups of 3, and here's the real reason why. If you're constantly looking for bad things that are going to happen, you're going to get paranoid, you're going to get stressed out, you're going to be filled with anxiety. You can't be in that situation, that mind frame all the time. It's not healthy for you to deal with something, especially traumatic, that happened, because your mind's always focused on the next thing that's going to go wrong, right? It's torture. But if you get the bad news, you take back control, you're trying to minimize new or follow up bad experiences that are in your control, not in somebody else's, right? When that second thing does happen, you're like, okay, at least it wasn't, this other stuff that I did have control of. At least this bad thing I couldn't have done anything about. And then the 3rd one happens, and then you go, okay, there's my 3rd one, nothing bad's gonna happen. Even if, something might. But at that point, you can kind of take a breath and say, okay, I've got my affairs in order. Everything's good. We're fine. Life is going to be what life is going to be. And I have done the best I can to handle things. And because you've taken care of all of these other things, and because the bad group of 3's over, hopefully you can allow yourself to have some sort of respite or some sort of relaxation mentally, and potentially start healing from the negative things that have happened, and process them, and and move on. That's the important thing, is to move on. With bad news, it stays with you until you let it go. But yeah, that's my thoughts on bad news and how to deal with it. All right, I'll see y'all on the next one.